the same person that I thought I knew and grew up with is not who's looking back at me in the mirrors for the last 3 years. I feel like I'm a different person now. My name is Jimmy Roberts. I am 47 years old. It's been 3 years since my brain injury. My traumatic brain injury started with one of our horses kicked me in the head. I was down, they had to life flight me out of the pasture to the hospital, and it started kind of the downward spiral.
We've been married 22 years, but we've been together 28 years. They said he had a concussion, a couple broken ribs, but he was lucky and everything was good. We were fine. And then I think a couple weeks after the concussion symptoms were supposed to go away, things started to actually present themselves. You know, he was still having issues with light and noise and poor memory, to the point where he couldn't hold down his job. You know, he couldn't recall facts that he needed to do. He couldn't remember simple tasks. He couldn't follow through simple tasks. And so we really started to see a pretty significant decline in his cognitive abilities and his processing. You know, went to neurologists and neuropsychs and tried to get a diagnosis, but there was nothing wrong with him. You know, it was just post-concussion type.
Our whole family's life went on hold because I couldn't hold down any work or do anything like that, because memory was an issue, forgetting things. It kind of was starting that ball rolling. So what I did is I got a job at Bass Pro Shop selling boats because it was easy, and they let me work 1 day a week. And if I needed off, they'd let me off.
He was on the back of a boat selling it and had a grand mal seizure and fell off of the boat and hit the back of his head, and the force of hitting the back of his head swung his brain forward, and so he has frontal lobe brain damage from that seizure and fall.
I don't remember anything about the day. I guess talking with Amy, she said I texted her and said I wasn't feeling well, and she said to come on home, and I said no, I'll just finish out the day. And next thing I remember, I woke up a month later in the hospital.
Upon discharge, we really weren't given any resources. Follow up with your primary care, see a neurologist because he had a seizure, we think, and see you later. You know, call us if you have any issues and concerns. And at that point, it was the realization that I'm going to have to do a lot of research and pull on every resource that I could actually find and be the advocate for Jimmy.
I thought I was fine. You know, and even to this day, there's a lot of times where, you know, I think I'm fine and you have the problem, I don't have the problem. And so that's kind of one of the biggest challenges.
He was always, before the head injury, a very caring, compassionate, lovable, hold your hand, give you hugs, let me kiss you. And after the head injury, after the accident, it was, there was no depth to him. You know, everything was very surface. You know, I'd look in his eyes and there was nothing there really. Angry, you know, he would get frustrated at us, you know, would yell at us.
I'm not dad anymore. I'm like a 12-year-old kid. I have no impulse control. You know, I do things that I think make me normal again, even though they really don't, because I can't handle it.
He didn't realize he had poor balance because his equilibrium was off, and he would, you know, try to take the stairs and walk the property and, you know, do things that he did prior to the head injury. Everybody was on constant alert trying to keep him safe, you know, from himself, and, you know, no environmental awareness, no clue.
I don't have typical days. They kind of vary depending on how my brain is. I can be tired and have it worn out from the day before, and then I'm pretty much useless that day. I don't function well. A lot of times I'll just lay in bed and almost be like a waste of space. And then there's other days that, unless something triggers me, you wouldn't know that I had an issue. And so it's kind of this yo-yo, up and down, up and down, up and down.
A lot of it has to do with the previous day. If he tried to, you know, take it easy We may have, a glimpse of an old Jimmy.
I'll do things to help around the house, cook dinner, stuff like that, like a normal person would be like.
Each day, each morning, you wonder what you're getting for the day. Some days he's just in bed.
And that's another hard thing on the family, is they don't know what dad is gonna be like, or what's my husband gonna be like.
Our relationship has changed since the head injury. It's gone from equals to more of the caregiving role, where he's, and excuse me, I'm sorry, still, I lost my partner, and that's hard. It's hard to lose your partner.
The biggest goal I would have is for us to be able to get back to that, being a husband and wife, not so much a caregiver. Because I know that's super hard on her. And then having to deal with my ups and downs every day is really hard. And so I know, like I said, we're 3 years out, and it's probably going to take longer than that. But that would be my biggest goal, is to get us as close as we can back to that, to where she can rely on me.
Jimmy's relationship with our children has changed. It's, the beginning of his injury, they were, they were constantly on alert, looking out for him, trying to make sure that he was safe, and kind of that pseudo caregiver role, helping me out. And now it's kind of switched into their friends. They joke around on the couch, and they watch movies together, and they wrestle. But there are days where it's like Jimmy is one of them. He's not their dad. The kids are resilient. They're amazing. I mean, they still respect him. They still listen, which is, I'm sure, is hard for them. For one day to kind of not understand what he's doing and how he's acting when it's a bad day, and to go from that to the next day where he's actually parenting and trying to educate and direct him to make good choices and helping with homework and so forth.
I would like it to go back to being, me being the father, and not have it be like I'm a friend. I'm their younger sibling, a 12-year-old, and they're all in their teens and in college, because my brain changes on a daily basis. So yesterday I was a husband. Today I am, child number 4. But as far as with my family, my kids and my wife, I think that we're moving in a good direction. Not to say that I don't struggle, and I have, times where I do fall backwards. I'd like to achieve for myself is getting back to normal. Whatever that normal is. I know that I'm not going to get back to the old normal, but I'm looking for the new normal, to be content and happy with, the new me. Again, I'm 3 years out, and I don't feel like I'm even close to that. Services or treatments out there that I may need or don't have. The problem is, at least the way I see it, is I don't even know what's out there. I go on my phone or something, or on the computer, and do research, and it's real hard to find. It's such a small source out there for me to look at and say, okay, this is that, this is this. If I was blind, it would be pages and pages and pages and pages of resources out there. So I don't even know what I'm missing, because I don't know what's out there. When I do the research, I don't see anything that's out there.
I think the biggest struggle is that there's just not resources. I mean, I can go online if I've got, an orthopedic issue, my arm's been amputated, or I'm losing my sight or my hearing, and have all of these resources at my fingertips to help my loved one. Head injury is just an unknown beast, and I mean, to have a well-renowned, trauma surgeon tell you it's like shooting darts at a moving target, that doesn't give you much hope, and in that moment you're grasping for somebody to tell you it's gonna be okay. And they don't tell you that, because it's not always okay. And I get that. But it would have been nice to hear it's gonna be okay, but if I could go back 3 years, to when I was sitting in Jimmy's hospital room and I realized that our world was completely different. I would tell myself to take control of the situation. I buried my head in the sand and didn't deal with medical bills and didn't deal with this. And now I'm, fighting that battle. I don't know. Like, I was waiting around, waiting for him. This is going to get better. You may get him back. You may not, in the sense of, having that person to rely on. But don't wait. Pull your head out of the sand, put on those big girl pants, and let's do this. Make these decisions.
My advice for new caregivers and new people helping with someone with a TBI would be patience and time. I think and it's one of the hardest things to do. You're dealing with somebody that's going through a whole lot. Their life has been thrown upside down, as well as yours. And the more you can be patient with them and give them time and be supportive of them, I think the better off you'll be in the outcome.
You're going to have to accept that things will not be the same. They may look the same initially, or there may be some items that are, some areas that are still the same. But the sooner that you can come to the realization and be okay and accept that everything is just going to change around you, the easier that things are going to, that life is going to be.
I would tell them that it does get better. It's going to take time. It's not, the brain is a funny thing.
It's not a death sentence. It's not the end of your relationship. It's not the end of your partnership. It's not the end of your family. It's just a pivot. It's a change.
Everybody's different too. What took me 3 years may take you 2 years or 5 years. But just know that it does get better and just keep working at it.